Hey everybody, welcome back to another special edition of Patriot to the Core podcast. I am talking to my friend Michael Andrew. He is on the ground in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. Thomas. He got there on Wednesday, so a few days ago, 3 days ago from this recording, September the 12th, I think, or 13th, September 13th. And he's on a disaster aid trip in conjunction with the Salvation Army and also his organization, Red Lightning. So we're going to just talk about what the conditions are there, what he's specifically doing, and he's going to talk about also St. John, how it's actually worse than St. Thomas, and he's more concerned about that area, and they're trying to figure out how they can get a team over there and help out, all while preparing for Hurricane, Maria? Maria is actually possibly headed there as well, so hopefully they are safe. Michael had his chance to evacuate, and he and his friend Craig chose to stay there and help out and help prepare the people for another possible hurricane. So this is a really some good work being done on the ground here, and I want to look forward to talking to Mike. Well, Michael Andrew, I'm glad to have you on the phone. I hope this call works. So please let us know where you're at and what you are doing right now.
I am in a house on St. Thomas up on a hill. It's a very well-built house. It's pretty much solid concrete. And I am on a disaster aid trip for the Salvation Army, as well as my own charity organization. And right now we're trying to figure out how to get a pipeline of aid and resources to the people who need it most. That's the summary of it, is basically what's going on. And tonight, I don't know if you know this, Dad, but we were told that there's a potentially large hurricane coming named Maria. It's essentially following the same track as Irma. And we were asked by the Salvation Army if we want to be evacuated. And Craig and I just both said, no way. We want to be here. We would miss this, because there's a little bit of a lag time after a disaster in terms of what it takes to get things running again. And so if we're not here, it could be days before we could come back. But if we're here, we could get back to work right away. So that's the thought is maybe Monday or Tuesday morning. We'll know more in the next 24 hours in terms of what's going to happen. But we're pretty confident where we're staying. We feel comfortable that if this house withstood a Category 5 hurricane, we're probably in good shape.
What is your elevation?
I would say we're less than 1,000 feet.
Oh, so you're pretty high, though.
It's not a bit. Yeah, we're fairly high. I mean, we'd be safe from any surge or anything like that, storm surge or tsunamis. I think we'd probably be fine.
All right, so I want to. We're speaking on Saturday night, September 16th. When did you get there?
Let's see. I got the call Monday. I was working. And Craig Arnold, who is one of the many vice presidents of UPS Americas, and he's my logistics partner. This is our 5th trip together. He called me and basically said, get on a plane. And I had about 20 hours to get ready before my plane took off. So at that point, it was a matter of tying up any loose ends that I had as quick as I could and get my bags ready. My bags are usually packed, but there's things in there that I usually swap out, check the batteries, stuff like that. And make sure the clothing I have is right for the environment. And it was just basically pack and get ready. And then Tuesday, I left Hawaii, landed in Puerto Rico Wednesday, late afternoon, and then we were on St. Thomas early Thursday morning. So okay. I've been here 3 days now.
So when did Hurricane Irma hit St. Thomas? Has it been a week? I guess it's been a week.
It was Yeah, it's been over a week.
So Mike, just give us a rundown of what was it like when you got there, and how bad is the devastation, and how are the people doing, and the infrastructure?
St. Thomas, there's 2 islands that I've been to, St. Thomas and St. John. We were there today. We were there yesterday. They're separated by ferry by about 20 minutes. St. Thomas, they're 2 different problems because the destruction on St. Thomas is very far-reaching, in terms of surface area. It covered a lot bigger in terms of territory, but the needs are different. I hate to say this, but kind of depending on the economic situation. So there's a lot of wealthy people in the Virgin Islands, and they're kind of able to take care of themselves better than, let's say, the not so wealthy population. That's, I think, where the real danger is. And so the things that they're struggling with right now are water and tarps. Tarps are really hard to come by right now. We're trying to figure out how to get them, but we've partnered up with. There's a few programs going on. One of them that the Salvation Army. So there's a Salvation Army Corps here, and there were Salvation Army officers here already, before the storm, and they basically put together a food program with a local church, and that food program is feeding, I think, 500 people a day. Economically, that's the place to eat, and they have done.
Is it at a location, or are they making deliveries?
No, it's at a church. So they've partnered up. They've partnered up with a church near the Corps and another group called My Brother's Workshop. My Brother's Workshop is basically they teach trades, and one of the trades that they teach is cooking. And so they have these cooks preparing meals, and through the church and the Salvation Army, they're basically feeding 500 people or more. That's going to expand, my understanding, to 1,000 or 1,200 in the next couple days, supposedly. And it's teamwork. It's all a teamwork effort, and they've been doing a great. That was established before I even got here, and they've been doing an amazing job. The Red Cross is here, and they're doing an amazing job. And they have a pretty good sized team here, and we're going to, as of today, I think we're pretty much partnered up with them. And the Salvation Army, what they're doing is we're looking for the gaps, maybe smaller, groups of people who aren't being reached. We're going to deliver to them, and also help with some of the logistics that are hard to find items, that we can't really get easily. We have a pipeline set up through Puerto Rico, and we're partnering with the Red Cross. But the thing that kind of really stuck out to me was there's not a lot of other aid agencies here. FEMA's here, and FATIMA's here, which is like the Virgin Islands version of FATIMA. And they're pretty much controlling the government response. But when you typically go into a disaster situation, you're going to see aid groups everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. You see their cars, their banners, their T-shirts. And the only groups in terms of NGOs that I'm seeing right now are the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. I'm not seeing anybody else. They could be here. I just don't know about them. But my guess is they're in Florida or they're in Houston, with the storms there and the cleanup effort there. And so I think what's happened is some of the agencies are kind of spread thin right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so a lot more people on St. Thomas, obviously, than what's on St. John. But St. John has a different problem in terms of there's no airport. It's harder to get things over there. There are some bottlenecks, but we definitely see that the government has, I think, 8 distribution points on St. Thomas and 2 on St. John, and people are getting aid, for sure. It's a matter of making sure that everybody's getting aid and there's no missed gaps. That's what we do kind of. So that's, without getting into too much details, that's kind of what I can say. It's been amazing to see. St. John is a really special place. If you've never been there, the community is really tight, and they just love each other, over on St. John. And we've gone over there, and they just treat us like we're their brothers, And there's a kitchen over there that has taken it upon themselves to feed the community. I think they're doing 1,000 meals a day. And this is the guy who's running it. His last name is Sharkey. I think his name's Fred Sharkey, and he's just basically a bar owner and has taken it on himself to feed, everybody who needs a meal. And the meals aren't big, but it's something, And so we have containers coming, and I know the Red Cross has stuff. FEMA has a lot of food here, and it's just really a matter of connecting the dots and working together and moving quickly, And so that's what's happening. I feel good about what's going on. I think there were some things in the news that are probably blown out of proportion. There was talk of looters, and maybe there were some instances, but it's not widespread or rampant here. I haven't seen anything serious. I feel safe here, in terms of security. So I don't think it's a problem, but I am more concerned about St. John personally. And, we're trying to get a team over there, stationed over there, but it's kind of hard to find lodging because the hotel, the Westin's ruined over there, and most of the other hotels are in bad shape. But I think we're going to end up staying over there eventually.
How many deaths were there in St. Thomas and St. John? Do you have any?
I don't have the exact number, but I want to say between 30 and 50.
And when you look out over it, is it just incredible how much destruction you see? I mean, what's it like visibly?
Okay, so in a disaster situation, there's a few things that are relative. Okay, for example, cleanliness is relative. Okay, clean compared to what? Hunger is relative. Hungry compared to what? And another one is destruction. Destruction compared to what? So that's why I say this, is because I've been to Haiti, I've been to Japan, I've been to the Philippines, Vanuatu, Nepal. I have seen some pretty bad places, So if in terms of somebody who's used to St. Thomas, it looks like a bomb went off. You know what I mean? To somebody who has gone to the Philippines or to Japan, where whole cities are missing, it's not as bad as those situations. That's the nicest way I can say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of destruction, lots of emotional stress. If you've never been through a disaster, it's going to shell shock you. We have volunteers coming in today that they were just, wide-eyed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this, just kind of blown away. And I would say that would be the response of most people who come to, especially to St. John. St. John is in pretty bad shape in terms of the destruction and the buildings there. There's no question in my mind, the destruction there is worse. But if you lived in St. Thomas and you've never been through disaster, yeah, you're gonna be emotionally shocked. Having lived through it, getting fresh water is a problem. Electricity is a problem, and all those things after a disaster add to the stress, and it's really difficult to cope with it if you have not been through it before. And so that's what I think is happening, in my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of any organizations, or I'm just saying from what I've seen in the past, everything's relative. And Haiti, if you look at Haiti, they had 250,000 people die. And so, if you're looking at the numbers of deaths, it's not significant. But there's other problems with St. Thomas, like in terms of the fresh drinking water. That's all done through desalination plants. And if they can't get the water situation figured out, that could become a real problem. You know what I mean? And so there's different challenges, is what I guess I'm saying. And the airport's closed right now, so there's no commercial flights. You can get charters in and out, but it is a very emotionally and stressful place to be for anybody. Once you've lost maybe a home or a loved one, or you're constantly wet. We talk to people in St. John. They don't have electricity, they don't have clean clothes. That's a very stressful thing. Can you live through it? Yeah, you can live through it, but it's not fun. It's going to be terrible. But you can take a ferry from St. John to St. Thomas, and if you really wanted to get out, you could take a ferry from St. Thomas to St. Croix, and St. Croix is in pretty good shape. So there is a way out if people really, really want to leave. And so I guess the long way of answering this question is that those who are economically challenged are the ones that we're most worried about. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can't get up and leave. They don't have the resources to drive into town and get supplies. Maybe they're old, and they can't walk that far, So that's our main concern, is how can we help the people who don't have the resources to get themselves out of this mess? You know what I'm saying?
Are you doing any geotagging like you've done in the past?
Yeah, I'm tagging everything, and that's just my habit. So if we go anywhere, I'm tagging, here is the airport, here is the ferry dock, here is this place, here's this person, And so that's always going on, and it's very useful.
How do you do that? What app or program or what? How do you do that?
So there's a couple apps where we use. There's one that's been, I call Old Faithful. It's not complicated, but it works, called GPS Log. And I also write a lot of stuff down in a notebook, because let's say I break my phone. and I can't access that information. So I usually keep a duplicate copy of everything in my notebook, and I also have a satellite phone. So between those three things, I'm usually covered. I can call anybody in the world. If I have the GPS coordinates, I feel confident to get the information to whomever I need to. We're working on an app. So I volunteer for the Salvation Army, but I also have my own aid organization called Red Lightning. And the original idea of Red Lightning was to develop software that would help in disaster response. And so this is the first disaster that I'm actually testing it out. And so there are some problems with it still that we have to work out, but we wouldn't have seen them unless we were testing it. This is just part of app development is you have to test it in the field, in a real world situation. But it's going to be awesome when we get it worked out. When we get everything worked out, it's going to be amazing. But for now, we still got to work on some of the problems with it, and we'll fix it. And I've already told some of the Salvation Army guys I'd love to give it to the Salvation Army to test, at the next beta stage, and hopefully I'd like to give it to all the aid agencies to use and to coordinate. It's a very powerful app, and hopefully we can bring that to fruition. But I think we're still a little bit out.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to hearing about that because you teased everybody a little bit about it on your Facebook when you said you were leaving. So what about tomorrow, Michael? So tomorrow morning, how much sleep are you going to get, and are you getting? And then what does your day for tomorrow look like?
Usually the days are pretty long, almost always 12 to 14 hours. And the challenge right now for me is I'm jet lagged, and so I can't fall asleep early. I'm 6 hours behind this time zone, so at 12 at night, I'm still stuck on Hawaii time. It's 6 in Hawaii. I'm not tired, and so I'm having a problem getting enough sleep, but I think it's going to start catching up to me pretty soon. And typical day, we wake up. We typically know what we're going to do the day before, so we wake up and we have our first delivery, or maybe we're picking up at the ferry, or maybe we're, have a meeting. There's daily meetings with, government officials and other agencies and stuff. And so currently there are 6 of us here. There was an advanced team, 2 pairs, one on St. Croix and one on St. Thomas, who were here. They arrived the day before the storm to be in place to start setting things up, and so I didn't even know about that until I got to Puerto Rico, and they are leaving probably tomorrow or Monday, and then it'll be me and Craig until the next relief team comes, which should be within a few days after that, and they'll be here for a couple weeks, and I'll probably be here until October 2nd or something. But typical day, we wake up around 5:30, usually. Get cleaned up, try to get something to eat. I'm eating the MREs in my go bag. I usually bring about 3 weeks of food with me.
Okay, so you're self-sufficient right now?
Yeah, we typically, I have a go bag that's packed 24 hours. It's ready to go within 24 hours. So I have most of my gear in there. I just go and check some things, and then I can be off, and if it was an emergency, I could be out in 20 minutes. I just grab the bag and be gone. But that bag has 3 weeks of MRE, which has a shelf life of about 7 years. So it's just always ready to go. And after every disaster, I kind of refresh it. And so 2015 was Nepal, came home, refreshed it. It's been sitting there ready to go. And so it was, I had everything there. And so typically we get up and we eat, get clean, shower, eat. And then we're pretty much out the door by 6:30 or 7 in most situations, sometimes earlier. And then we start at 8. It might be a delivery. It might be a meeting. Tomorrow we're going to do 2 deliveries to 2 hard-to-reach areas, exactly what I was describing.
How are you going to get there?
Going to go to. We have a truck, and then we rented another car today, but we'll use a 4-wheel drive truck to get it up. It's basically in the mountains somewhere. We don't even know exactly where the spot is, but we'll put 50 gallons of 51-gallon cartons of water, and we'll take these up and give them to these people who can't come down to get it. So we'll spend probably 4 or 5 hours tomorrow making a couple runs of that, and then we kind of got a curveball with the storm, so we don't know what's going to. We're keeping an eye on Maria, if it's evolving into something bad, we kind of got to help the other team evacuate and get them out of here. And we were originally thinking about going to St. John and getting a team, place to stay over there, basically. So it's a pipeline of getting stuff out to St. John regularly and faster. There's a team in Puerto Rico who is supplying us with all kinds of stuff. UPS has given us some space on their planes, and then we have access to some barges, so we can load 40-foot containers. And so there's a whole logistics system, and that's what Craig is really, really good at. He's amazing at it. I mean, that's like his thing, And Craig put a lot of that together super quick. But we have a team in Puerto Rico that's doing an amazing job of procuring relief aid and getting it on the planes and the barges, and then it comes to St. Thomas, and then we kind of try to get it and put it in a secure place, and then start dispersing it maybe to the church or the Red Cross or whoever needs it, wherever. We try to get it moved as fast as possible. And so the idea is to get some of that going over to St. John's. They need clothes over there, for example. That's men's clothing specifically, not children or women, but the men need clothing over there. So we're going to get them, a couple boxes of men's clothes, or shoes, stuff. The needs change from day to day. And so one of the reasons why aid agencies ask for money is because the needs change so fast that if you were to send food or clothing or whatever, by the time it got to the disaster zone, that need would have been filled. You see what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like a waste. It's just a waste of getting it.
That's good to know. So people, I was just thinking about that. Some people may want to send some kind of supplies, but you're saying the best thing to do is to donate to a reputable organization, because they know as quick as anybody could know what is actually needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is, if you think about it, much of the stuff can be located, maybe not in the disaster zone, but sort of close to it. Okay, and so if you're spending $50,000 to $100,000 to load a plane up and send it down, all that money could have gone to aid purchased in Puerto Rico. Do you see what I'm saying? And so, in terms of efficiency, the money is going to be far more efficient because you're not paying for that shipping cost when it can be procured locally. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's really, really good point. And I was hoping to get some type of efficiency discussion out of this anyway.
Yeah, the law of existing resources from the efficiency playbook, which just came out in April. That was a chapter that was not included, but the law of existing resources says that you should never bring with you that can be obtained in the place you are going. If you're sure you can get it in the place you're going, it is less efficient to bring it with you. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
As a general rule of thumb. For example, water is typically pretty abundant, right? And issue now where, water is not abundant here, but the next closest place, Puerto Rico, they have water. So it makes more sense to get the water closer to the disaster zone than further away. It's less efficient to get it further away. And that applies to everything. It could be any kind of aid. You try to get it locally first because the needs change literally from day to day. They change. And so if you were to ship a plane full of, whatever it is, it may not be needed by the time it gets here. All that said, the law of existing resources also says if you cannot get it in the location where you need it, then you should bring it. For example, tarps are very hard to find right now. So we're working with, our partners to get tarps located, further away from Puerto Rico and have those sent in because that's a hot commodity. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we just wouldn't know that until, you sit down and look at the needs. So that's kind of the long answer.
All right. So let's, in being aware of time here, I want to ask you a few questions if we can kind of do a slight rapid fire, Mike.
Okay, sure.
What kind of clothing are you wearing and working in?
I typically bring 3 sets of clothing, and each set of clothing is supposed to last me for a week. So I wore the first pair of clothing on the plane to Puerto Rico. I changed out of them this morning. I went like 4 or 5 days, right? The
What's
reason
it made
is
out of?
I use a lot of like Nike dry fit shirts because it's hot and I sweat a lot. And then the pants are the Columbia pants, there's different fabric types. I like the breathable thin ones, the shorts. They're called shants, so they can be shorts or pants. And there's zippers around the thighs, and you can take the legs off, because I can go to pants or shorts, and virtually everybody here wears them. Okay, if you're disaster aid, almost everybody has those pants because they're convenient, you know. And then I have different pairs of Solomon shoes, the hiking shoes, and I'm wearing a pair of low tops, Gore-Tex waterproof, light, cool. I know I've tested my foot in them; they're comfortable. And then I usually bring a hat, and then I have like a little camel pack that I carry with me through the day. You know, it has water and pretty much everything I need to survive for a day. You know.
Are you wearing smart wool socks or merino wool, other kind?
I'm not, because they're too hot right now, and so I wear just regular athletic ankle socks, and I wear a lot of DEET. I'm bathing in 100% DEET every day.
Okay. So
anytime I go out in the morning, I really kind of put it on all over, and then after a shower, I put it on. There's mosquitoes everywhere here. And sunscreen, put that on it too. But usually it's the Nike shirts and the Columbia pants. Those are the two, because they evaporate so fast. You know, you can be in a rainstorm and the sun will come out. You'll be dry in 10 minutes. You know.
All right, so you said you felt safe. What about security as a whole there? And, you know, obviously I don't think you traveled with any weapons, or at least you didn't travel with a gun. So are there people you see that are protecting their businesses or homes with guns or any weapons?
You know, it's just not that bad. What happened was, I think in the beginning there was probably some looting, but what happened was the FBI sent a bunch of agents down, and they're armed. They're guarding the airport and helping with some of the other checkpoints. I think, you know, some of the government buildings. The Marines are here. The Army of Engineers are here. And I think there was some FBI, or not FBI, there was some New York Police Department detectives that also came, and they're helping with security. And I really don't see a problem with security here at all.
Okay. What about sanitation?
You know, I think the sanitation problem is, it could become a more of a bigger problem, and that's something that they asked for on St. John, is they wanted more sanitation. But right now, I think it's manageable. I think the government here is actually doing a pretty good job, you know, believe it or not, in terms of how much work they have to do. Sanitation, I think it's okay. Yeah. I think it's okay.
What about,
in my opinion.
like, with the bathrooms? Are people, you know, just pooping wherever they can, or is it not anywhere near that bad?
No, it's not like Haiti, you know, was a problem where you had people doing that, you know, literally everywhere. And, you know, the Salvation Army set up a camp for 15,000 people, and it was just, I mean, mind-blowing how filthy it was, you know, and then you had the rain season coming, and it was just a mess. So, like I said, cleanliness is relative, you know, compared to what? Compared to, you know, a city in the United States, the mainland, yeah, it's definitely far worse. Is it like Haiti? No, it's not like Haiti.
Okay.
I think, you know what I'm saying? It's relative.
Certainly, yeah, especially for somebody like you who's been to some huge disasters across the globe. I've got, I think, one more question, and then I definitely want you to wrap it up with anything that you want the folks to hear. But you talked about your organization, Red Lightning. So, really, what is the best thing that people can do now? And I'm talking about somebody out there may just have the means and the time to just say, "Hey, I want to go down there and physically help," and then those that cannot do that. So, what are the best ways people can help out?
I think right now, okay, so the commercial flights, as far as I know, they won't open until, the airport won't even be open until Wednesday. And that might be pushed back. But the problem with getting volunteers is they should have been trained before they get here in something. You know, whether it's a nurse or, you know, I don't think the medical needs are there. But if you've been trained in disaster aid and you're with an organization that's coming, that makes sense. I think if they want to help, the best way to do it is to donate. And, you know, I've worked so much with the Salvation Army that I donate to the Salvation Army, you know, and they're my go-to. The Red Cross is a huge organization. They're really big, and you know, they do a tremendous amount of work. And so right now we're partnering with them. And so I'd have to say, if you've donated to the Red Cross, I think you're doing, that they're the biggest NGO here right now, and they're doing great. They're doing an amazing job. And then I like my organization. It's more kind of a widow's mite thing where we take the money and we try to find a way to kind of personally help people. Maybe if it's like 20 or 40 bucks, I can like I gave a donation yesterday in the form of a solar charger. It was just something I had in my bag for that purpose. Somebody said they needed electricity, so I gave them one of the solar chargers I buy, and I bring them with me on these trips. And so we look for opportunities. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. The Red Cross and the Salvation Army, there's a whole process where they do these large distributions to a lot of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. They're the big wheels. Talk about that in the book. They're the big wheels that cover a lot of ground. And with Red Lightning, what I try to do is find, the woman who's asking me for a mosquito net, and I have one in my bag, an extra one in my bag. That's the kind of thing that I do. Is it big? No. Is it impactful on a single person? Yes, it is. And then, so that's kind of the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My flight and everything, all that's covered, so I don't have any overhead. I'll volunteer. It's a 501c3, and so that's the choice that people would have in this situation. I would say the Red Cross, Salvation Army, or Red Lightning.
This is so different than you and I have done some work together with after tornadoes or hurricanes, and it's been never been directly in the action like on the coast. Well, I haven't done on the coast, you have, but we've gone down and it's been a lot easier because you don't have to have as much of a skill. You just need a strong back, a chainsaw, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But so this is different in your situation, as it needs to be more organized, and you need some more specific skills than just muscles.
Yeah, the problem here is getting here. We had to get a charter flight, and I guess it's okay. We had to spend $3,000 to get me and Craig here, and not everybody can afford a one-way $3,000 plane trip. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not feasible for people to just jump on a plane. The airport's closed. You just can't easily come here anyway. But at some point when, things settle down, the commercial flights are going to open. And you know what? People can come here. They can go to St. John. And there is so much work that needs to be done that you could work for a year and probably not dent it, in terms of rebuilding homes and rebuilding houses. And so there is definitely damage, and there's, lots of work to be done. So that need is definitely there, but it's just not easy to hop in your car and drive to St. Thomas. You know what I'm saying? And that's, something that can be done in Houston and in Florida Keys. There's going to be tons of work that needs to be done there. St. Thomas and St. John are difficult because they're isolated, and you have to pretty much fly or sit on a boat for 12 hours to get here,
Yeah, and I figure a lot of people are going to have to look on a map where they are anyway. St. Thomas. I mean, we've heard these names, but I couldn't pick it out on a map. I'll have to, look at it. So we're going to have some links, Mike. I'll put some links up. I'll put a link to Red Lightning, and
thank you.
Anyway, hopefully people will throw some donations your way, because they're actually going to somebody on the ground. But wrap us up. Let's close us out with whatever you want us to know.
Basically, I do a lot of different things. I'm a photographer and a producer, and I'm an author and all these things. But of all the things that I can do, and all the things I'm good at, I'm really good at disasters. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm just wired to enjoy it. It's not stressful to me. It's like fun. I hate to say that word, but there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. And I feel like God has blessed me with certain skill sets, and those skill sets work really, really well in disaster situations, and I enjoy it. I can't last forever. I'll burn out after about 3 weeks, but I know I'm supposed to be here, and I know that I'm supposed to take the skill sets that I've been given and use them in a certain way. And, some of the most memorable experiences of my life are, serving in disaster zones. And it's just a great way to kind of reset and kind of stop looking at my problems. Like, it's funny. I was so embedded in my, my work, in the projects I had going on, and I'm not even thinking about them right now. A week ago, I was so excited about football, and right now football is the furthest thing. I couldn't care less about football right now. I'm just not even thinking about it. And it's this mindset that has changed because of the opportunity to serve people, and so I guess the thought I'd like to close with is that if if you're struggling with something in your personal life or your work life or your career life, find a way to take a couple days off and go to one of these disaster zones and help somebody who's really suffering. And it will rock your world. It will reset your soul, and you will feel amazing. And when you go back to your normal problems that you were struggling with before, they will be minimized. They'll seem like nothing. And that's one of the selfish reasons I do these trips. Is it just fills you with gratitude, And so I guess that's the thought I would kind of close with. I know I'm supposed to be here. I want to be here. We don't care about this other storm that's coming because we want to be ready to serve as soon as it's over with, So I guess that's kind of the thought, the unscripted thought I have.
Okay, man. Great work. May God continue to bless you, and thank you for, taking, I guess a talent that you have, a skill that you have, and also you just you have the ability to do it, financially and time-wise, and so you're making something happen. So, man, keep it up, and I wish you well. And I've been looking forward to talking to you.
I know you have.
So thanks for the report. I want people to know what's going on in these just devastated, these hard-hit places that most of us haven't been to.
Yeah, I think St. Thomas and St. John is kind of fallen through the cracks because there's Houston and Florida, they've been hit and they're hurting, and so a lot of the aid agencies are spread out, but I just feel blessed and thankful to have the opportunity to be able to do this. I just feel lucky, you know what I mean? And so I'm going to try to update my blog. I had a podcast going myself, but I haven't really done it since I've been here just because the days are long, but I'm going to try to update the blog when I can. And so if people want to see what's going on, they can follow me on Instagram or check the blog out, and I'll have more information coming.
I'll put all that on there, your podcast. I'll put michaelthemaven.com. What is your Instagram and Twitter?
Instagram, I'm at Michael the Maven, all one word. It's both for Twitter and Instagram. And the internet connection's kind of tough, but phone calls and texting's a little easier. And when I can get more pictures out, I'll definitely post more.
Great. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you, Michael Andrew.
Thank you, Thad. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it so much.